Hello, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning into our broadcast. I appreciate you. I'm going to give you a quick update on what to expect throughout the night. Of course, with these storms now pushing a little bit more into western Kentucky, they are starting to ramp up a little bit more than what they were once at probably a couple of hours ago. So I wanted to give you a quick update on what to expect throughout the night. Of course, our forecast really hasn't changed much, but I know there's a lot of uneasiness out there just because of what's happened in the past. Obviously, a lot of storms have come through Kentucky, especially at nighttime, and cause some havoc in the fall time and wintertime. So I understand there's a little bit of anxiety out there. I'm going to give it about 45 more seconds before we get started on this. So if you would, while we have some time, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen. Share it on your news feeds. That way your friends and family can view it. And it also helps us grow and support more folks. So thank you guys again for your help with that. I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone liking the broadcast. Mike over there on YouTube. What's up, my friend? Brett, hello over there on YouTube. Says thanks for your coverage as always. I appreciate that. Elsie, thank you so much. Silver Shower out of Newburgh, Indiana, checking in. I appreciate you, my friend. So again, we're going to give it about 30 more seconds before we get started on anything. So if you're just now hopping in here, don't worry, you haven't missed anything. Just giving folks some time to get in here. Hopefully the stream doesn't lag this time. So far, it looks like it's a little bit better. I think we just had a weird server earlier. Sometimes that happens. So it looks like we're good to go for now. A lot of southern Indiana in here. Good news, we might be doing a little something up there very soon. Keep that on a secret for now. Crystal, good evening to you. Sandra, Chaka, good evening to you guys. Again, if you're just now hopping in here, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. We're just giving folks a little bit of time to get in here and get settled in and sharing the broadcast. We appreciate that. I'm going to give you a quick update on the storm threat for tonight, as the storms are intensifying a little bit here into western Kentucky. I'll let you know where the prime area is, if you will. But again, I just want to reiterate before we get started on this, I don't think this is a big event. I haven't forecasted it as a big event. And even sitting here right now, talking to you, where I could be lying to you to keep you in here, I really don't think this is a massive event. But I want to give everyone a quick update. Also show you the temperatures expected. And we haven't been talking about that too much because of the storm threat. It's about to get really, really cold. Cold, but compared to what we have been dealing with. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up our main radar here from WeatherWise. And right now, what I have on your screen are the velocities or winds that are occurring here. We do have a couple of special weather statements up there into Evansville, Indiana, toward Princeton for 40-mile-per-hour wind. 40-mile-per-hour wind from Sturgis, Clay, Henderson, Corydon, Marion, Fredonia, Princeton, and the 40-mile-per-hour wind statement back out here for Benton, Hardin, and Murray. Now, I do think a couple of these statements probably could be upgraded a little bit if I'm being a bit particular. I think we probably are talking more like 55 mile per hour winds in these top two boxes here. Let me get that correct on the screen there. Again, I think the winds are definitely picking up, especially on the northern side here. And that was always going to be the case. Here was our forecast, by the way. Let me pull it up here. And I'm not going to go full screen on it, but you can see here, I had it expanded up to the north a little bit more. You see how it kind of curves to the north a little bit? That's always what I expected for it to happen. As we went into the late night hours, the northern side of this would win a little bit more. Then you'll have a gap, and then the southern side where the better storm fuel is. I do also want to start this broadcast by saying if this were to happen in the springtime, this particular storm system, we'd be having a very different live broadcast this evening. Very different. As far as I want to break this down because I want you guys to understand what's happening tonight. Tonight, what we're dealing with is a lot of wind energy. And if you haven't felt that yet, you're going to feel that later on tonight going through the overnight hours. What we're dealing with is a lot of wind energy, a lot of lift happening because there's a big, strong cold front coming through. What we don't have tonight that we almost always have in the springtime is ample amounts of moisture and heat. Now, you would think with the sunshine and humidity that we saw today, we would have a little bit more out there, but I'm going to show you a map real quickly. It's going to look pretty crazy. It is ticking up a little bit because there was nothing here just a little bit ago, so now there's 500, so it may be trending up very slightly for a brief amount of time. But as far as generally the entire state there, if you see there's a lot of blue, not a whole lot of red. This map is showing us storm fuel versus negative storm fuel, and the blue is negative. The red is positive storm fuel. And what that basically means is I always tell everyone this metaphor here. Your storms are kind of like a car. It needs an engine, it needs so many gas, it needs so many things to go. The cold front is kind of like the engine, and the storm fuel is kind of like the gas. So right now we have a car that's ready to go with the storm, but almost no gas in that car for the storm to go. Storms are you need three key things for a storm to really go. And there's more to it than that, but very simply, you need three key things. Think of it as a triangle. You need some type of forcing mechanism, like a cold front or a dry line. We have that with the cold front. You need some sort of lift to occur. We also have that with the rocking jet streams. But in the third part of the triangle, you absolutely have to have some sort of storm fuel. Missing one of those key ingredients is going to lead you to having a messy storm type, which is exactly what we're seeing tonight. So we're missing that storm fuel a little bit there, and what it's leading to is just a bunch of rain and wind. Now, in these setups, sometimes you can get those really weird brief spin-ups like we saw back in September in northeastern Kentucky out here for, I think Vanceburg is what it was, if I remember correctly. No, it was actually Barry to Brooksville. Back in September, I have to check the exact date. We did have a spin-up from a similar event, which is why we have told everyone, yes, while it is very low, I should say, there is a 2% tornado risk with this because there's such a high amount of wind shear. Now, the reason the tornado risk is not higher is because we don't have the storm fuel. So while it's kind of more of just covering our bases, if you will, it's rare, but it does happen sometimes that you get a brief, weak spin-up from these types of events. So if you're asking me, George, do you expect tornadoes to occur tonight in Kentucky? The answer is no. If you're asking me, would I be absolutely shocked to see a tornado warning at some point tonight? The answer is also no, because again, it's rare, but it happens. The main thing tonight is going to be damaging winds. Absolutely. And we're already seeing that start to trend up a little bit here. When these storms entered western Kentucky, I'll put it in motion here for you, actually. Let me actually pull that back a little bit further. Give us a few more frames from the WeatherWise radar here. I'm going to pull that back to 75 scans. And I'm just going to show you the brief history of the storm. And we'll look at the model data and all the forecasting and everything like that as well. You'll see it was a little bit severe back out here toward Missouri and Illinois. And then it kind of trickled down and 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 trickled down. And now it's starting to pick back up a little bit. Okay, and the reason for that is over the last little bit, I'll show you here as well. Let's go back to an older run. This makes it very simple. There are a million ways to show you this, but this is kind of more of a simple one. Look at how weak the jet stream was. These are the winds about 5,000 feet above our heads. Okay, and the AC just kicked on, so I'm sorry if the mic is kind of messing up a little bit. These are the winds at about 5,000 feet or so above our heads. So this was a few hours ago, and you'll just see as I click forward here how it kind of just gets more aggressive and more aggressive and more aggressive. And that's why these storms are starting to produce a little bit more wind with them. And that's why you've seen the wind risk more predominantly into central Kentucky, basically Elizabethtown, Louisville, Frankfort, Lexington, Danville, Campbellsville, Bowling Green, so on and so forth. Because we knew there would be a gap. We knew this area would be a little bit severe. It actually underperformed a bit. This area would be a little bit more boring. And then it would tick back up once again. Now, I do want to caution you and remind you that we're talking more about damaging winds, not tornadic activity. So even though I'm saying it's trending up, it's not for tornadic activity. It's for damaging winds. Now I'm going to show you the StormNet AI, and this is what this is going to try to do. What I have it on right now is it's going to try and pick up the wind risk. And you can see at this very moment, it is picking up about a 40% chance up there toward Evansville, Newburgh, Henderson, Highland, and northwest Kentucky, southwest Indiana. And that's exactly where we are currently seeing the higher wind gust occurring. If I zoom in here, see all those bright colors right next to each other? That's a downdraft of winds occurring there. So if I come back to the AI model and it just expanded, so it means this risk is growing, and zoom back out, let me make sure I can show you all of Kentucky here. I'm going to kind of just take this forward a little bit. You'll see it does take the risk more toward the north, not necessarily into Kentucky. Then it expands it briefly right around, if you could take your eyes up here to this little bitty spot. Let me go to the main screen here. It does take it around 1:18 to 2:18 a.m. Eastern time. That's where it maxes out the wind potential for central Kentucky. And that's not very high. It's about 15%. So again, there might be one warning for every 15 storms that we see there, or every 15 cells within that line that we see there. So there may be a lot of special weather statements, but not necessarily warnings tonight. Advance this forward, you'll see that wind risk really dies down. Here is the tornado risk from the StormNet AI. It is picking up on a little bit of a hint up here where we are seeing some downdrafts occurring, but not anything or a downburst, I should say, not downdrafts. But we aren't picking up anything. It's maybe a little bit of a bulge right there. Let me check something real quickly. That's not in Kentucky, by the way. That's north of Evansville, Indiana. Yeah, it's not really doing anything. But again, that's where it's picking up on a little bit of it. And as I advance this forward, you'll see it kind of expands it over Evansville over the next hour or so. So if you're in southern and southwestern Indiana, just kind of keep a loose eye on it. And then it just doesn't really do anything. It has a brief tick up there around 2 to 3 a.m., but that's, again, very, very, very low. Probably one of the lowest on the key scale there. And it doesn't really have it. So the tornado potential, it is trying to bring another tornado potential like 10, 11 a.m. tomorrow. What? Let me check that. Sometimes the AI, you guys know, it can be a little bit weird. It's picking up 10, 11 a.m. tomorrow. Let's check that real quickly. No. No. Okay. So that's probably just a nice little glitch by the AI there. And that's why we have to use it, but use it in context. It's not 100% perfect there. Okay. So you'll see that the main risk by the AI and by the model data, by the radar data, is all damaging winds right now. Now let's go back to that radar data or model data and kind of show you just the progression throughout the night. So this is right now is valid for the current time. You'll see that it has line back out there toward western Kentucky, but if I click on the radar, or the western border, I should say, if I click on the radar, it's actually a little bit more into Kentucky, so it's progressing a little bit faster. And I think that's because the jet stream is a little bit faster than advertised. So let's see if we can find, let's see how this one did. Okay, this one's better. All right, so again, here it is valid for 11 p.m. Eastern time. You'll see it tries to uptick the storm, so it's here. It shows almost nothing, and then by about 11, by about 11 or so, it does try to uptick the storm a little bit. Again, don't pay attention to all that. This model is not perfect yet. They're still working on it. This is one of the newer models by the NWS, so they're still working on it. So don't pay attention to the colors that you're seeing there, just kind of the shape of everything. Advance this forward about midnight or so. It still has that line pretty strong there. The strongest now drifting off to the north, and then kind of fades it away by about the time it gets to I-65 or so. And then it's mainly just a wind event. By the way, here are the wind gusts expected overnight. So you'll see it start to tick up right here around western Kentucky, and then really trends up by the time it gets to central Kentucky. It shows a 46 mile per hour gust in Elizabethtown, for example. Don't take that verbatim, but for example, by about 3 a.m. Eastern time, and then takes it up and out toward eastern Kentucky. And here comes the cold front tomorrow morning around your morning commute to lunchtime or so. And the winds, see how the winds just stick with us? That's what we were saying. The storms are done by this point, by the way. The storms are pretty much done by this point, but we're still sticking with all those wind gusts on the backside. So we're going to keep the wind gusts with us even when the storms exit until the cold front gets all the way through. I want to show you now just the temperatures real quickly, and then we'll get back to the radar, and we'll answer a few questions. Wow, that wind must be kicking up because everything is hitting my roof right now. Literally everything. Here are your temperatures. You'll just kind of see how this cold front comes through here and just really takes those temperatures down just over and over and over again. By about noon tomorrow, the temperature is actually going to be cooler than what it is right now. Here are your temperatures right now. Right, let's go a little bit forward here. Here are the temperatures right now, 73, 75, 71. And then here's around noon tomorrow. You'll see the temperatures have gone down almost 20 degrees by that point. Here is the high in the afternoon tomorrow. Low 50s for a lot of folks. So again, a very strong cold front is going to be moving through throughout the overnight and the early morning hours. And that's why we're seeing all these wind gusts occurring. The low for Sunday night going into Monday morning, maybe even colder than this, 45, 42, 44, 44. Wind chill is probably going to be into the 30s Monday morning, so be prepared for that, by the way. And then Monday afternoon, here are your highs for Monday. Low or upper 50s, low 60s. So again, going to be really chill. Those are highs. Those are not low. Those are highs. So again, very chilly up ahead here. I'm going to pull back up the radar now and just kind of show you what we're looking at here. By the way, if anyone's asking, those cameras are out of Gage, Kentucky, the one it's currently on, and the other one's out of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Let's pull this back up, and you can kind of see that just the winds are going on here. Just kind of measure. Now, these are a little bit more aggressive than what they actually are going to be. I'm going to switch radars probably. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, 42, 45, 36, 48. 33, about 40 there. The heavier winds are definitely toward the river at this point. All right, let's zoom this out, and I'll get to a few questions, but I'm not going to get to too much because, again, I don't think the risk is that great for anyone tonight. Overall, this isn't looking like something we got to stay awake for. I don't think so. My advice is to always have something to wake you up for alerts and notifications, of course. But this is not something personally I would stay awake for if I wasn't doing what I do. You know what I mean? Do I think it will be weakened by the time it gets to Nancy, Kentucky? Yes, the rain will, but the wind gust will stick with everyone in Kentucky until tomorrow afternoon. If tornadoes were to produce, would we need to go to the tornado shelter, or would it be brief enough that we could ride it out inside of our house? Well, Jack, that's a question you got to ask yourself. I don't know what structure you guys live in. Um, Obviously, I think tonight, if there were a tornado to occur, it would be of the brief, weak, spin up category. It wouldn't be anything that's going to take down entire neighborhoods and subdivisions. So most people can ride it out in their homes, but obviously, if you're in like a single wide trailer, obviously it's great to have a backup plan. Once the cold front hits, is the cold going to stay? That's a good question. I do think once the cold front hits, we'll stay in the 60s for a while for highs, probably 4 or 5 days. Now, some of our southern and western states may creep up to the lower 70s by about midweek or so. But yeah, I do think the more fall like seasonal pattern is definitely taking hold now, and that's usually the case. Usually, this does happen by mid-October or so. So this is nothing abnormal at all. This is very typical. Again, I do think that's the case. Can we officially say we're done with or can we officially say we are done with a prolonged heat wave for this year? I don't think you can ever really say that until you get toward Christmas. There have been so many times where we've had little heat waves, if you want to call them that, early December, late. Wait, my buddy just texted me. Oh, Kentucky and Texas are tied at 13. Um, I never feel comfortable saying we're done with many heat waves. I've seen temperatures in the 90s in December before, so I never feel comfortable saying that until we probably get to Christmas. Congrats on your daughter. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. The severe threat is not high. No. What about Grayson County? Again, I'm going to probably avoid backyard questions and county questions just because, again, I think we've exhausted our efforts on delivering the forecast to you guys, and the forecast genuinely has not changed. The main threat for everyone in Kentucky tonight and throughout tomorrow morning is going to be brief damaging winds. There is a 2% tornado risk, and I can show you that real quickly as well. Turn off the radar here. Turn off our warnings. And that really hasn't changed either. There is a 2% tornado risk for about 80% of the state there. But again, 2% is as low as it gets without it being, of course, 0%. And a 2% risk usually results in a tornado happening 1 in every 9,250 times. So it's a really rare type of percentage there. That does not. I'll have to put a PG-13 rating on the stream for that. What in the world? But yeah. So again, it's a very small risk. And the only real reason it's in there is because it's rare, but because sometimes we do see a brief spin up tornado coming out of a high shear, low cape event. Bluegrass Acres, thank you very much. I'm glad everyone else has a good sense of humor. I was waiting on somebody to be like, "That's inappropriate," like I made it or something. You know what I mean? There's always somebody. Any thunder or lightning, you're always going to get thunder or lightning with thunderstorms. As you can see here, there are some lightning strikes showing up. Not as much on the southern half, but remember, guys, lightning does not equal severe. Georgia, I've lived through the Mayfield tornado. I don't like bad weather. I hear you, but I guarantee you this is absolutely nothing like that. Dude, that was crazy. That was I'm gonna hang on. I gotta take a picture of that. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'll ever see that again. And it's one of those things I really just want to. I mean, it's just funny. I don't care who you are. That's just funny. If you don't think this is funny, then I feel bad for you. Screenshot. Thank you. All right. Inappropriate George is gone now. I didn't make that, by the way. The severe threat is not high. I live in a trailer. I just don't want to blow over tonight. Then I'll, of course, always have a backup plan. You know, trailers are one of those things that can even be damaged by straight line winds. So you got to be careful with that. I always tell anyone that lives in a single wide trailer or something like that on an event like this, even with minor winds, you can still get damages to those structures. So always make sure you have a backup plan. Wow, there went my light. My light just like randomly fell there. So sorry if I got darker for you guys. These are moving at about a speed of 50 mile per hour to the east-northeast, whoever was asking about that. No, I don't think this is something that anyone has to stay up for. Just kind of keeping a loose eye on it, having a way to receive alerts and warnings is really good. But again, I don't think this is something anyone has to stay up for or stress out about. I think everyone can go to sleep. Just again, I always recommend having a way to receive alerts and warnings. By the way, thank you to anyone that might be sending any Star donations or any PayPal or Venmo donations. I, for some reason, still cannot get alerts on those. But I just wanted to say thank you to anyone that may be doing those. Feel hungry for a fish fillet. Well, I did not eat a fish sandwich today, so that's a good sign. Janetta, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Make a teaching show for weather and reading radar. I've been thinking about that. Just been so busy having the kiddo come around. We got the house ready in the last couple of weeks. And honestly, this summer, I kind of just wanted to take a step back a little bit. This past winter and spring was... now, listen, I love what I do, obviously. But this past winter and spring was exhausting. I got so burnt out that it genuinely, I did not want to look at my computer. And that has never happened before. So this summer, when the weather was calmer, up until about maybe a month ago or so, I got the itch back for it again. But this summer, I genuinely just kind of chilled out. I knew we had a second kid coming. I knew it was going to get busy this fall and winter just based off of oceanic temperatures and patterns and everything. So I knew I just kind of wanted to take advantage of the quiet pattern and just chill. Because I knew it was going to get really hectic with it, just everything in life and everything in the weather world as well. Hope your son is better. Yeah, he's definitely getting better. Thank you very much. The spring was so wild. The spring was so wild that we forget how wild the winter was for a lot of folks. A lot of folks, especially in the northern half of Kentucky, had a very robust winter. And we forget about that just because of how insane the springtime was. When it comes to not only a once-in-a-generation flooding event, but we had two of those. And then just constantly were having just insane storms that weren't necessarily insane with severe type, but just insane with the amount of rain they had with them all the time. Congrats on the baby. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stacy. But yeah, again, just want to reiterate for anyone that might be hopping in here just now, this is not a big-time event, folks. The main threat for everyone tonight is going to be damaging winds. And then we'll keep those wind gusts until tomorrow afternoon. This storm will hit everybody. So it's not just going to hit one backyard, not the other. This storm will hit everybody, and everybody's going to have a chance to see some brief damaging winds. But again, the better chances are, of course, in western Kentucky. There are currently no warnings. We have not had any severe warnings in the state as of now. Louisa, Kentucky won't be there for you until tomorrow morning. And even by then, it will be much weaker. No, this is not a bad sign. I just want to give a quick update to everybody. Going to not really answer backyard questions for people asking about cities and counties at this point. Again, the main threat for every one of the states is going to be damaging winds and rain. Bring on the snow for Christmas week. I'm hoping my friends see you next time. Got to get back to the Tennessee and Bama ball game. Have a good time. I got the Kentucky game on. Yes, I'm a Louisville fan, but I do support other schools in the state. I'm not just going to be obnoxious about it. Spring was wild this year. Even the March 31st tornado outbreak was terrible. It was so bad. We haven't taken a vacation. Brandon and I haven't taken a vacation as a married couple. But this summer, back in June, obviously, if you all remember, it was just one day in the end of May. I told her, I said, hey, listen, I don't care where you pick, where we go, what we got to do. Well, we've got to leave this house for a little bit because I'm tired of seeing my computer. I'm tired of seeing the desk. I'm tired of seeing everything. And so we ended up going to Myrtle Beach. While we were in Myrtle Beach, there was a storm system that came through here that was rocking the state with winds. Because of course, why not? But I had to get away because it was just flat out. I mean, I was just burnt out, and that's the first time I've ever really felt it. I mean, I've been doing this since 2018 on this page. Started taking it real seriously. Actually went full time. A lot of people didn't know in the first 4 years I was working another job while doing this page. And then by the time I got toward that 2023 time frame, I started doing it full time. And then just, back in the May and June, I was just like, I've had enough. I got to take a break. All good, Jason. I appreciate you tuning in. Jack says, thank you for giving us honest forecasts with all the fear mongering. It's definitely appreciated. I appreciate that. I still get called a fear monger. I think it's just the way the internet goes. But I've seen the reason I talked about this event. Honestly, I talked about this event so much the last few days. Not even because it was a big event, but because I was seeing so much misinformation going around that I just felt like I had to talk about this event more to try and prepare my folks. Because there was so much over exaggeration of things. I mean, look what's happening even down here toward the south, where they now finally have a tornado warning, but they've had 4 or 5 tornado watches all the way from Oklahoma City to Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi here, or is that Alabama? That's Mississippi. But anyway, they've had all these things, all of these watches going out. I think they've had like 2 or 3 tornado warnings. I mean, it has been this event was so blown out of proportion that it was. I actually was just flabbergasted by how over exaggerated this event was. Now, I will say 4 or 5 days ago on model data, it did show quite the potential. But then it was just for 1 or 2 runs, and it quickly went away. So honestly, if this wasn't so overhyped, we probably wouldn't have talked about it too much on this page. Because again, it is a low end event. Yes, there can be some brief small damages from some brief damaging wind gusts, like some small limbs being taken down. If you didn't secure your outdoor items, you're going to see them tossed around. But that's about it. If this were happening in May or April, you or I wouldn't blink an eye at this. Genuinely, that's just how it goes. I just don't understand why people are posting on your Facebook angry about your posts. They always have the option not listen to you. People pick for no reason. Yeah, and that's what I've learned. That's what I learned doing what I do. I have learned that you genuinely, no matter what you do or your intentions are, you're never going to make everyone happy, and that's just how life is. But we do our best. The problem is there's just so many. Anyone can hop on social media and do anything. Like I hopped on social media and I did what I wanted to do, but I hold myself to a certain accountability. And some people just genuinely don't care about that at all. They just care about getting the most money they can, and it ruins the reputation for everybody else. Basically, 80% of the state will possibly see wind as the threat tonight. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, I'm not going to get into the backyards, the cities, the counties tonight, guys, because the answer is the same for everybody, and I don't want to exhaust my voice like that. I'm being genuine and honest with you. The answer is going to be the same no matter where you live at, folks. Some point throughout tonight or the overnight, you're going to see storms come through your area, and they're going to produce a damaging wind threat. That does not mean you're going to absolutely see damaging winds. That's just going to be the main threat that you're going to see. We will keep the wind gust until tomorrow afternoon. The storms will be will be gone for almost everybody by about 10 a.m. tomorrow, but we'll keep the wind gust off and on until the afternoon and evening time, until that cold front gets all the way through. Is the hail threat still there? There was never a hail threat in Kentucky. I see that, Lexi. Is the line weakening by any chance? Not really. It's kind of just staying the same. The southern side seems to be kind of weakening a little bit, and that always is the case, really. What radar am I on here? Let's switch up to the Evansville radar. I want to see the northern side of this line. Yeah, even the max warning right now in Kentucky is for 40-mile-per-hour winds. That's not going to do a whole lot. There's a very nice wind gradient up here into southern Indiana, by the way. Very nice. Thank you, Josie. I appreciate that. Stupid question, but what is a Boeing line? I just want a storm line kind of bulges out a little bit. Kind of similar to this, but this is not a Boeing segment, so I don't want to freak out up here. Kind of similar to this, where you have a straight line, if you will, but then you kind of see like a bulge right here. And sometimes in those bulges, you can see, rotating winds or damaging wind gusts, so on and so forth. Is this going to start weakening soon? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Probably within the next hour and a half or so. So again, this is kind of the max that the storms are going to be at tonight. And you'll see that they're already not really doing anything. So again, you can kind of see for yourself. This is not a big time event here. It's really not. Hayden, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Is it red heavy rain? Yes, it is. Yeah, listen, don't worry about that. I was just using that as an example there. Nothing really to be concerned with. I'm going to check just once more here and make sure nothing really crazy is happening. 45, 30, 25 plus 22, 47-ish. Yeah, there's nothing really. I mean, I'm looking here. There's no rotation happening, no real wind gradients occurring. It's just gonna be a really windy, rainy night tomorrow morning. There are so many acorns hitting my roof right now. It's actually insane. This is crazy. Jaden, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Oh, I know. Listen, that's funny. I'm gonna be sharing that to my friends. All right, that's it. I think I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I wanted to come on here and just briefly update you real quick. I think we accomplished that. Just know there's no real reason to freak out. Everyone's got the same damaging wind risk tonight. So it doesn't matter where you're at in the state. The answer is the same for you. Main risk going to be damaging winds tonight, overnight, into tomorrow morning. Was there ever a time you wanted to work for a weather station? Yeah, until I learned how messy the behind the scenes are at like weather stations and TV all around. I'm not going to get into the particulars, but it's just there were things that I learned about that were happening behind the scenes that I just it really turned me off. I just didn't want to go through all that, so started my own thing, and so here we are. Weather should be overtossed in Western Kentucky by about 5 to 6 a.m. at the latest. Okay. That's going to do it for us here at Weather Now Kentucky. I'll continue to post radar updates for you guys periodically, but again, just reminder, this is not a big time event. You're going to hear gusty winds. You're going to probably hear some rumbles of thunder, some lightning, and a lot of rainfall. But again, I don't really expect the weather to get really bad for anybody. The peak for most folks when it comes to wind gust will be overnight in the morning, 2 to about 7 a.m. Eastern time or so. But that's really it. So I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with Weather Now Kentucky. Thank you so much for tuning into this broadcast. I appreciate all the likes, the shares, the follows, all that good stuff. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the comment. Until next time, stay safe, friends.